Welcome to this edition of the Native News Update. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories read here can be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com. Here's the news stories for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. The trustee of a troubled Grand Island, Nebraska insurance agency has warned customers of an affiliated company to find a new insurer. In letters sent during this last week or so to First Nations Compensation Plan customers, Thomas Stallnaker said the company does not have sufficient funds to continue operations. First Nations is operated out of the same offices as First Americans Insurance Company, which has filed for bankruptcy. Authorities are investigating how it lost more than $100 million. While First Nations has not filed for bankruptcy, their attorney Bob Craig said some of First Nations profits were diverted to First Americans. First Americans filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection on January 12th, claiming between $100 million and $500 million in liabilities. A spokesman for the Montana Corrections Department says they're investigating allegations that Native American inmates were mistreated and discriminated against at the Crossroads Correctional Center in Shelby, Montana. The private prison operates under a contract with the state. The American Civil Liberties Union says Crossroads violated the rights of Native American inmates. The ACLU of Montana filed a complaint against the prison with the State Human Rights Bureau. It alleges inmates were subjected to en masse strip searches, were denied the ability to properly celebrate sweat lodge ceremonies, and were retaliated against when they complained about the mistreatment. Corrections spokesman Bob Anez says the department is investigating the allegations and will respond to the ACLU complaint. No more talking and driving on the Navajo Nation. The Navajo Nation is the latest place in which drivers will be prohibited from using their cell phones unless they're hands-free. The Navajo Council voted 37-21 during its spring session in favor of the ban. It also covers text messaging. The tribe's director of public safety says it's a safety issue when drivers talk and send messages on their cell phones. Samson Cowboy says it's better to prevent accidents than to be sorry. Violators will be fined no more than $20 on the first offense and $50 for any subsequent offense. The 27,000 square mile reservation extends into the states of Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. Members of the Spirit Lake Sioux tribe say they're proud of the University of North Dakota's Fighting Sioux nickname, and they showed it with their votes. State officials say the tribal vote is just one of several factors they must consider. Results from the tribe's primary election announced last week by the Tribal Election Committee showed 764 votes in favor of the UND nickname and Indian head logo and 371 against it. Under a settlement with the NCAA, UND needs approval from the Sioux tribes in the state to continue using the nickname and Indian head logo without penalties. The NCAA considers it hostile and abusive. Eunice Davidson, a nickname supporter who gathered enough signatures to put the issue to a vote on the Spirit Lake Reservation, said her ancestors were fighting Sioux and she is proud of the name. A band of Lakota and Dakota whose ancestors were driven from the majestic Black Hills more than 130 years ago are seeking hundreds of millions in compensation and upsetting other tribal members who say taking the money for the sacred land would be legitimizing the theft. A lawsuit filed this month asks a federal judge to release as much as $900 million in compensation and interest that 8 Sioux tribes refused decades ago. The tribes insisted instead on return of the rugged land. In southwestern South Dakota, they lost in military battles and theft. The dispute has split the tribes. Some 5,000 tribal members have signed up for the class action lawsuit so far, but just 19 plaintiffs are listed on the lawsuit because many live on other reservations and fear retribution, said lawyer Wanda Hoey Fox of Yankton, South Dakota. She said tribal members were wrong if they believed taking the money amounts to selling the Black Hills. They can hope that the government is going to give the Black Hills back, but that is never going to happen. But Charlotte Black Elk, who has been active in traditional Native issues, including the Black Hills, said she has never considered taking money for the Black Hills, which the Sioux hold sacred. To take the money would bless the theft, said Black Elk. This is obviously a move by people who just want a check. The First Nations Ojibwe Corporation is pleased to announce a grant opportunity for Native organizations serving Native communities and people in South Dakota. With funding provided by the Federal Home Loan Bank of Des Moines, Ojibwe is launching the second year of the South Dakota Native Financial Education Grant that will award mini grants in the amount of a couple $1,000s to Native organizations delivering financial education, training, and or home buyer education to Native people in the state. Elsie Meeks, president and the CEO of Ojibwe, said, "Financial education and home buyer education are essential elements in building strong Native communities." Ojibwe is pleased to offer the second round of the South Dakota Native Financial Education Grant to support and expand those efforts in the state. For more information, you can go to www.ojibwe.org. An upcoming exhibition at the Wheelwright Museum of the American Indian is going to feature paintings from the Santa Fe Indian School in New Mexico. Opening in May 17th of this year, the Wheelwright Museum of the American Indian presents Through Their Eyes, paintings from the Santa Fe Indian School. This exhibition focuses on paintings from the Charlotte G. Mettler collection created by students who attended the Santa Fe Indian School between 1919 and 1945. The Santa Fe Indian School has long been considered the birthplace of contemporary Native American easel painting. This exhibit will run through April 18th, 2010. In Iowa, a tribal volunteer firefighter seriously burned while fighting wildfires during early April near Wellston, Oklahoma, has been upgraded to good condition, but his family says his road to recovery is going to be a long one. David Milby, the tribe's fire training officer, was burned over 26% of his body April 9th when he and his partner Jeff Bahale became stuck in a field and couldn't flee the flames that blew over them and their brush rig. Bahale was treated for injuries and released from the hospital later that day. Milby was in critical condition for nearly 2 weeks before being upgraded to good condition last week. And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to thank our underwriters for helping us with this broadcast and you for joining with us today. Miigwech.